Welcome to another Dashboard 2.0 video. And in one of the latest ones, when I was talking about the tables, I said that probably the next thing I would try to do is use that file manager sort of example that I was showing in the table video, and try to use that to build my file browser in Dashboard 2.0. And I started working on that one, and it's coming along reasonably well. I mean, I managed to just lift and shift most of the code over, and the basic functionality, like looking at files and listing and changing directories and downloading and deleting. No, deleting doesn't work yet. Downloading works. And for some of the other stuff, I think I need to dig a little bit deeper just to understand, for example, dialogues, like confirmation dialogues and that sort of stuff. But I'm going to show you where I am at the moment, and maybe I can get some ideas from you as well, how to make this a little bit better, because yeah, I'm not really happy how it looks like at the moment, but I think it looks much better than the old dashboard. Actually, let's change views, and let me show you the old one. Oops, not this one. This one. So here in the old dashboard, I had to use a new eTable component so I can select files. So I mean, it's okay. I mean, the navigation here, it's easy. You have pages and stuff, and then you have a file preview here, and you have the delete and the download here, and then you have some of the refresh, reset up buttons, and there is download all, and there is a filter here. So there's a lot of things on the side, on the top, on the bottom. So I think that was a little bit sort of like all over the place. But I like the fact that it was the table was very usable, and it was also quick and very responsive, and also fairly compact. So in the new one, I think it is not as compact. And in fact, on my other screen, which I think it's the same resolution, so it's full HD both of my screens. So I'm not really sure why it feels that I have a little bit more space on my other screen. But as you can see, I mean, this table got a little bit squashed here, and it doesn't really fit on the whole. Maybe I do full screen just for the time being. But as you can see, I can move things around, quickly change between the views, and I can also what is the folder that I want to go into? Maybe Node.REST static. Yeah, I can just quickly look at folders, and I can select the files, and if the file is an image, then it shows the image, and then it shows like the name of the file and the size. And by the way, I can click on download, and the download works, or it did work last time I checked it. I'm not sure why it is not doing the download. Or maybe it's not doing because it's not visible in F11. No, it's not this one. What if oh yeah, I have the refresh, the parent directory and the home folder. So maybe if I go parent directory, oh no, because yeah, sorry, the download doesn't work like that. I was again playing around with some of the things that I learned. So I have checkboxes here, but I also turned the file names into chips. So it's easier to just click on them, and then it updates the view here. If I click on the folder, then it goes into the folder, and I can go back up. And I already support various different file types. I have too many of this CSV. I should delete this. And like I can, look at the log file, and oh, okay, this doesn't have a preview available, but I can select an image, I can select a global, JSON file, Python file. I mean, most of my file has passwords, that's why I'm not want to show that. So this preview works, and what is also working is that, let me just go back to these CSV files. So if I look at these download and the file button. So what I have done is that these files would get enabled or disabled based on what files I select. So if I select one file, then delete and download is enabled. And if I select like multiple, then the download is not enabled anymore. And by the way, these icons are just here for sample. They are not used anymore. But like if I want to download, yeah, download works. It does the download. And if I do selection, then you can see that it shows the file selected, the size, and it also shows the file names. Again, these buttons are examples here. They don't really do anything. So the one thing which is I'm not sure about the user interface. Yeah, and this one works as well, the filter. So one thing I'm not really sure about the interface is whether I think, you know, for some of these actions which are on the top, like downloading and deleting again, so they should work if I select the file name, but they should also work if I just click on a file name and show it here. And I was also thinking maybe I should put this toolbar full screen width, because then it would make sense that these buttons apply to sort of the selection, or they apply to the main file which is selected on the right. And probably I think I can make the file list little bit wider, and then this preview window a little bit smaller, so it would fit the screen better. But yeah, I mean, if I want to have a big toolbar, which means that I have to create a separate group, so then would be even more spacing, so it will take up more space here, which I don't like that much. I won't be able to fit everything here in one template. And also breaking it up into multiple templates actually makes it handling easier as well. Yeah, but I think, you know, functionality wise, it looks, you know, cool. It looks okay already at the moment. And with this UI, I think I would be able to add so much additional functionality, like downloading only selected files, or applying filtering here as well, besides the text filter. So I think there is a lot of opportunities, and obviously there is a lot of space here, especially if I make this full screen width up here. Let me show you the code a little bit. As I said, I managed to lift and shift most of the functionality. So I'm using this part as almost exactly the same as the previous one. So this function node just handles all the folder changes and setting the initial folder. So it basically just you know, selects the folder and then prepares the data for the the file lister dialog. So this is one of the custom dialog that I used on the previous one as well, and it's called Node-RED contrib fs for file services, I guess. And so this just reads the files from the start directory, but that's just the start directory. I mean, then you can obviously change the different directories. And then I also had this prepared data, which it converts some of the dates to the, you know, from the JavaScript date to more human readable date. So like year, month, date, hour, minutes, and seconds. And it generates all the icons. So based on the file name, it generates the icons here. Again, based on the, it also prepares the download link, so I don't have to generate that later. And that's pretty much it. And then we add the headers. So those are the headers that are appearing here. That's something that I used from the previous video. I just added the size column. And the rest is the file explorer, and I haven't even touched the file explorer. I think it's almost exactly the same as before. So if you have watched my other video, then I'm pretty sure it's exactly the same. And here I added the item template for the file name, so you can see that it's a chip, and the color depends on whether it's a file or a folder. So this is gray and the folders are blue, and I think I probably should pick a different color other than gray, because it sort of like suggests that it's like read-only or not editable or not clickable. So probably maybe I should use a different color, like, I don't know whether orange is going to be better or just a very pale yellowish color. So you can click on this one and also the folders. and they have an action which they send the message out clicked, and they send the item which got clicked. So I can obviously pick that up. If it's a folder, I can change that folder. If it's a file, then I can just pass it on to the preview list. And I also display the file size, and I just push it to the right because it looks better that if it's right aligned, and nothing really changes here. So that's the file selection box. And of course, once you clicked on something within the file, then it goes into the selection. And this could be either clicking on the chips or making changes to the selection. Again, this is something that I discussed in the previous video. So here what I do, so this is a big function node. It checks whether, what happens if something got clicked or something got selected. And basically I'm doing two different things here. So if something got selected or clicked, I update the toolbar, which is here, and I'm going to get onto how I did that, but this is how I control which of the buttons get enabled or disabled based on if I have no file selected, one file selected, or multiple files selected. And if I selected the directory, then on the second port, I send out a directory change command. So that goes back to the file selector in the beginning. And if I have if I've selected a single file, if I clicked on the file, then this is that's the piece of code which generates all the previews. And that's almost exactly the same as the previous code, but there is a trick, because here in the preview, this is basically a card with an image. So that's the card title, that's the card subtitle, that's the card text, and the actions which I think I'm going to delete because I don't need them. When I generate the file, I couldn't just pass the file over, because then it's not going to use all the line breaks and everything, and I cannot just put the line breaks in the HTML code because I'm passing the text over. So Vue will just render the the BRs as text. But then I was told that there is a trick. So there was I asked all these questions in the forum, and there is this trick. So if you do this, so normally when I wanted to enter text, and I would just use the double curly brackets, so it enters the value of that field as text. But if you do like this, div and vhtml and the field name, so like size underscore text, but here it's the field is called the content, then it would insert that as HTML code. So it's not going to do any changes of the sort of like translation or any of that. It would just paste the HTML code in, which means that I was able to reuse pretty much my old code. So all the enters, I just replaced them with BRs, and it just worked. You can see the cards, which I'm going to delete. And also I made some changes here on the code, because as I said, the card title is the file name, the subtitle is the text, this file size, and the card text contains the file preview or the list of the files that got selected. And so I have a content, a file name, and a file text, which I initialize them in the beginning. And when the payload is received, I start assigning all these. Like in the payload, it comes, the content comes in a file content field. File name comes in fname, the size comes in .stat.size text. So these get automatically assigned to all of these fields. So for example, when I read a file, I can, actually, I'm not really sure if I should still HTML encode the file. So it removes all the ends and then converts them to the HTML equivalent. But I definitely did the line feed conversions to BRs. So in HTML, it also shows as a line feed, so a new line. And with this, I was able to use the same logic that I used to show an image, because obviously the images are probably not stored in the same directory as the static directory, so I cannot just display them using a URL or a URI. So what I do is I read the file, read the image file, and I convert the content, so the binary image, to a base64 encoded string, and I can push that into an inline image tag. And I pass it into the div, and it just just inserts the, the image tag with the base64 content into the file, into the HTML code. And this is how the file preview works, and it works, beautifully. So I'm really happy how that turned out. Let's see if we have, yeah. Oh, I don't have any, yeah, I have an image snapshot. Yeah, works just fine. And actually with this, I think I would be able to just extend the file type, and maybe I can do, I don't really do videos, but I could do like an HTML video player as well. So if you select an MP4, then it plays the video. So I can just easily extend this big switch, which just looks at the extensions, and then based on the extension, I can just, create additional things, which then generate a custom HTML, piece, and then puts it into the into this place here, which is the card text. So that works just great. So that was one of the change, but that's already done. I had to do a custom file download action as well. So here in the previous version, I had to generate a HTML, a piece of HTML which actually calls a JavaScript. So here what I have done is, because I already have a script section in the template, I could just create a watch. So whenever it doesn't really have any HTML content, but then if the watch receives a payload, then it passes that I always expect that payload to be a URL. So I pass it to a window.open, and then it opens the download link in a new window. And then because the response is a file, it just shows up as a file download. So that's how it works. And the only downside with that is that it is actually a separate template. So the white space that you can see here is the white space that is generated by the template. So I think what I would try to do is somehow I would incorporate this, which is essentially only a function. Probably I can incorporate it into the file card. So maybe I have, within the watch, if it receives, I would check here if the payload has a special attribute, or maybe it comes, maybe there is going to be another flag which says is download. Then, it does the same thing what I have done here. So it's not going to be an additional template which takes up some visible space on the screen. So that's cool. And then the last thing is the really new thing is this toolbar. And again, I was playing with some new stuff here in the toolbar. So first of all, there is something which is actually called the toolbar. And as you would expect, you can just place icons into the toolbar. And because I want to click on these icons, these are buttons, and within the buttons, I have icons. But I also wanted to have these tooltips so you can tell what each icon means. And actually there is a Viewtify component for it, which is called the tooltip. So you create a tooltip where you say, I want this text to be displayed on top of the icon. And then under that, it has a template. The only reason I needed a template because I needed a props. So that's going to activate the tooltip. And then the props is the button. So, moving the cursor over the button activates the tooltip. But then the rest of the button is simple, like it has an icon, it has, I had to add color blank because then the buttons were appearing in white. And they also have an action which sends a topic. So each of these buttons here, they send out a specific topic with a payload nothing. So it's a refresh topic, it's an up topic, the home topic, and then the delete button says delete, and the download says download. And I have the bunch of other things which don't do anything. They were just in the example, and I thought I'm just going to leave them for the time being because there are some useful stuff here. For example, a divider, which otherwise I wouldn't know how to do. So all these things send out these messages, and I just have a big switch node which says, okay, what's the topic? So was it the refresh pressed? Was it the up? What is the home? Was it the download pressed? And then based on that, I can just do stuff like, yeah. So the only sort of like trick what I did here, well, it's not really trick, but when you click here, obviously the toolbar doesn't know what is happening on the file list selection because it's a completely different template. So whenever I click something, whenever I select something, or whenever I click on one of the items, I store it in the context. So you can see in the flow context, I have a last clicked and the last selected. So I last clicked on this file and I haven't selected anything, which, yes, I haven't selected anything. So for example, if I want to download, then in this function node, I can just get from the flow context, okay, what was the last selected? So as you can see, it looks for the last selected, which at the moment is empty. So if I click on download now, oops, well, I can't click on this one. But then if I select two files and I click on download, okay, it's disabled again because I'm not supporting multiple downloads at the moment. But here what I could do is I can get the last selected. If the last selected length is 1, so I only have one file, then I do this. And if I have the last selected, more than one, I could have a different process which passes all the files to a command line which does a zip, and then I do the zip download, which is similar to the download all functionality that I have done previously. But for that, I want to make sure that I can show a pop-up screen, and I want to work with dialogues before I start working on that one, because dialogues in Dashboard 2.0 works a different way, because at least in Dashboard 1.0 you could use the notification. You could use the notification for a dialogue as well, but in Dashboard 2.0 notification is just a notification, if I remember correctly. Yeah, it's just a simple notification, so it doesn't have buttons and it doesn't wait for a response. So that's probably going to be one of the next things. But I think even without that, it's still, a fairly usable UI flow, and it looks, it looks fairly decent, and I'm quite happy. And at least I have the framework how the whole thing is going to work, so I can just, polish the details, work out the, adding some new functionality should be fairly easy after this point. So I think that's going to be all for now. Since the code is fairly useful and usable, I think I'm just going to publish this current flow and put the link in the video description, so you can still use it. And then obviously once it gets enhanced, then I can work on the rest of the flow and add additional functionality and update the file on the GitHub. The only thing is, just like in the previous one, you have to define your starting folder or default folder here. So probably you want to rename this to home/pi or something. And then, make sure that you inject this one. But other than, I think that should be all. Actually, one more thing is, I still haven't figured out why, but sometimes when I load the dashboard, then, stupid things like this happen. And I have no idea why. So this is completely screwed up now, and I'm not really sure. It has to do again something with the fact that the component is sending out a message and it comes back. So I think somehow I need to handle it here. But then what I noticed that if I click on init here, if I would do reset, then everything comes back as normal. And also sometimes I notice when I open this view, then there are no files are shown, and even if I press here on the the parent folder or the home folder, then nothing really happens. But then I refresh the screen and then all of a sudden it starts working. So I need to play around with a little bit more just to understand how these things are happening, so I can just, I don't know, debug and then figure out what's going wrong. I think probably some old messages are getting passed to this component, and it's not in the format that it's expecting. I mean, the template, it's not in the format that it's expecting, so it's not really doing anything with it, and then just refreshing it somehow helps doing that, or maybe just generates an extra message which is then in the correct format. So yeah, that piece needs a little bit more debugging. But as I said, I think that should be all for now. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next video.